Okay, here we are. It's July 17th. Airman Dziebel and I are here in Atascadero, California, near Santa Margarita. We met years ago, probably about 1998. We're filming this after years of collaboration, and I wanted to just get a background of what Gehrman has done in his research and in his research life. Maybe you could even let us know where you were born and just a little bit of background about what caused you to be the person you are today.
Thank you, partner. Yeah, a little bit, my side of the story. So I was born in Russia back in 1971. I entered the university, St. Petersburg State University, at that time it was called Leningrad State University, in 1987. And I was very interested in American Indian cultures. Believe it or not, a Russian boy grew up in the 1970s in the height of the Cold War, interested to understand, what American Indian cultures were all about. But this is what you get in modern global world. People all over the world, may be interested in your local cultures. So I started off, as a student in anthropology and ethnography at the Leningrad State University in 1987. And I took the path of trying to understand, what sources in English and Russian exist on the American Indian culture. And I was focusing on one particular tribe or a group of tribes from modern Idaho, Nevada, California, the Great Plains, Wyoming. A group of tribes, from Idaho, Nevada, South California, Wyoming, and the Great Plains. Those tribes are known as the Shoshone tribes. The reason for my interest in the Shoshones, and again, we're talking about right after Perestroika, right after 1985 in Russia, was that very little was written in the Russian language about that specific population of American Indians. So I wanted to fill in the gap and really look holistically at their culture. I started reviewing archival sources, trappers' accounts, missionaries' accounts, soldiers' accounts, all the people who've encountered Shoshones in the course of their colonization of the Far West. Later on, I moved to describe the economic constitution of Shoshone Indians, their material culture, their social organization, and then finally I stumbled on the problem of kinship, the Shoshone Kinship Organization. As we all know, kinship studies has been around with anthropology for the past 150 years. Many people would even attribute the birth of anthropology to the rise of interest in kinship studies back in the mid-19th century. One of the founders of American anthropology, Lewis Henry Morgan, wrote the systems of consanguinity and affinity of the human family back in 1870, in which he did the first comparative study of the worldwide variation in kinship systems. So I really was curious to understand, the tradition of kinship studies in anthropology and how the kinship organization of the Shoshone Indians fits with what we knew by the end of the 20th century about the evolution of kinship systems around the globe. And what I found fascinating about the Shoshone kinship system, that it was unique. Some of the features that are common to the kinship systems of East Asians, South Asians, and Australian Aborigines are found with a greater degree of preservation of those archaic features in the Shoshone Indians in the western part of the United States. I was puzzled by the fact that although our idea of the colonization of the New World has always been played out around the dates of 10 to 15,000 years before present, the Shoshones seem to harbor much greater antiquity in their kinship systems, at least as compared to some of the populations in East Asia, South Asia, and Australia. It really puzzled me at that time, and I was a faithful student of evolution, but still I was really puzzled to see, that although the American Indian kinship systems were supposed to be more derived, as compared to the kinship systems found in Asia, they turned out to be the opposite from that. They turned out to be more ancestral as compared to those systems. So it really excited my curiosity and put me on a journey of comparing and collecting kinship terminologies from around the globe, those that were available by the end of the 20th century. And again, as a reminder, Lewis Henry Morgan went on his search for the origin of American Indians by comparing the available accounts of their kinship terminologies, accounts that were available by 1870. So 100 years later, I decided to kind of recreate his search for the origin of American Indians and look at the available wealth of information about kinship systems by the end of the 20th century. So I looked, through all the available sources: Northern Asian kinship systems, East Asian, South Asian, Southeast Asian, Oceanic kinship systems, Australian Aboriginal kinship systems, kinship system of the Afro-Asiatic people in North Africa, Sub-Saharan kinship systems of Indo-European people, and the Basques, the more ancient population of Europe, the kinship system of the Samis in the north, the kinship systems of the Aborigines of Andaman Islands, the kinship systems of the Ainu of the Hokkaido in Japan. So I really focused very narrowly on some very specific populations around the globe, but I also looked very broadly and compared continents, regions, and various groups of populations. And what I discovered, which was an amazing revelation that scientists sometimes arrive at, is that American Indian kinship systems, as found in North America and in South America, consistently and systematically looked more ancestral to the kinship systems found in Asia, Australasia, Oceania, and especially to the kinship systems found in Europe and in Africa. So I arrived at a very consistent line of kinship terminological variation that went from the Americas back in the Old World rather than the other way around. In 1997, I defended my dissertation in anthropology at the Peter the Great Museum of Anthropology and Ethnology in St. Petersburg, and went on a journey to go west and explore the market for anthropological ideas available in Europe and the US. First, I arrived in Poland and studied sociology there. Then I applied and got full scholarship from Stanford University in California, where I spent almost 8 years researching the available sources on American Indian and other kinship systems, mastering the art of population genetics, looking at archaeology, linguistics, and all the sciences pertaining to the origin of modern humans, trying to understand if my original findings that I arrived at while still being a student of anthropology in Russia are consistent with what we know about the origin and dispersal of modern humans throughout the Old World and the New World. In 2001, I went back to Russia in order to publish a book, which was a combination of newly discovered sources from Stanford libraries and my original research that I did by 1997, which was part and parcel of my PhD dissertation in Russian. So I published a book in the Russian language called The Phenomenon of Kinship, in which I outlined my ideas about the worldwide variation of kinship systems on the basis of some 1,500 kinship systems from around the globe, and also formulated some hypotheses around how we could integrate the study of kinship with population genetics, linguistics, archaeology, and other sciences pertaining to the origin of modern humans.
And first take.